Just a moment, pass that message. All right, we're live. Take it away.
All right, calling this meeting to order. This is the Salem Parks and Recreation Advisory Board meeting. This is the June 8th, 2023 meeting. Welcome, everyone. Look forward to having a great meeting tonight. Let's start with our call to order and roll call. So we'll go through the list here. Keith Norris.
I am here.
Alan Alexander. I don't see Alan yet. Woody Dukes. I see Alan is joining us. We'll come back to Alan in just a moment here. Rick Hartwig.
Here.
Al Holland.
I'm here.
Joan Lloyd.
Here.
Debbie Miller is excused absence today. And then we'll give Alan just a moment here while he connects to audio. And we heard from Dave Friedenmaker that after many years, he's leaving the school district. And so we will be changing out, we will be exploring a different opportunity with a school board representative. So he will not be with us tonight. And I know Dave is, I should have looked up the number, but next month we can say a better thank you, but very appreciative of all of his time. I know he's been really active on SPRAD for many, many years, long before I started. And it's been so important to have that connection to the school board. So very grateful for all of his service and the information and support he's brought, especially when there's been projects to consider between the school district and the parks. Alan Alexander, is your audio working now? Are you here?
Yes, I am.
All right, wonderful. Thank you. All right, well, we have a quorum. Let's review the 2023 May minutes. So does anyone have any edits or suggested changes to the minutes from our last meeting?
Move to approve.
All right, we have a motion. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
All right, we have a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none. All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed, say nay. All right, our minutes are approved. We'll move into our public comment period. We do not have anyone signed up for public comment, but I see we have at least a couple members of the public here. So Carol in particular wanted to give you a chance if you had any public comment you were hoping to share. And Carol, I see you're off mute. Did you have public comment you'd like to give us tonight?
Yes. I just wanted to, on behalf of Salem Park Foundation, welcome Scott Archer. And we're looking forward to working with you. So.
Wonderful.
Okay.
And then I see we have a Ray Joseph in the room. I didn't know if Ray, if you're a member of the public or with the city, I apologize. I don't think we've met yet. I'm going to give you the chance for public comment if that's why you're here.
No, I'm not. I'm working on Rob's team. I'm a parks planner.
Okay, wonderful. Perfect. Well, great to meet you. I did see an update that there was the new staffing list there and some changes. So wonderful, and appreciate you being here tonight.
Sure thing.
All right. I don't see any other public comments. Councillor Varney was not able to join us tonight, so we do not have our council liaison updates. So we are just flying through our agenda. And I guess I do see we did have one more member of the public with Dennis Will. So I just wanted to make sure that I didn't miss that. I did not see anyone come off mute, but all right, hearing none. We'll move on to board member presentations. So our two things to orders of business tonight, we're going to hear from our new Deputy City Manager of Community Services, Scott Archer, who's just over 2 weeks into the job. And then we're going to have our neighborhood association engagement discussion to touch base on where we're at there. So really excited. I know last month we were very fortunate to hear from City Manager Keith Staley about all the work happening and all of the new processes and new systems and organizations underway. And Scott, we're very excited right after that to have you here to talk about the work you're doing, your vision, and this whole new setup to the city structure. So I'll turn it over to you. I'm sure we have lots of questions, but would love to just start by learning more about you and some of the work you have underway.
Well, thanks. Appreciate that. And really, can you all hear me, by the way? Because I was having some issues with my technology.
Loud and clear. Sounds
Good,
great.
good. Okay. I had to do the quick switch over to a different laptop. My laptop crashed and burned on me right as I was trying to log in, and I'm just making sure I'm good to go here. So, okay. Well, thank you, and really happy to be joining your meeting tonight. Yes, I've been on the job for just about 2.5 weeks. So really just getting my feet under me and hitting the ground here. So I'm happy to say make some introductory comments, but really I'd like to kind of defer to whatever questions you might have of me. So I'll be somewhat succinct and let you ask me the questions that you really would like to know. So happy to talk as little or as much as you're interested in. So I guess, first of all, just by way of kind of background, in case you're not aware, but so I've been hired as the Deputy City Manager for Community Services, and this is a new position. It's a new position, but it's new within kind of a reorganization of some existing positions that were vacant, and so really the city didn't add any additional positions, but just kind of did some reorganizing. So, but it is a kind of a newly structured and reorganization. It sounds like perhaps you heard from Keith Staley about that last time you met. So won't spend too much time on that. But yeah, so I started work on May 22nd, and I have been just very excited and really enjoying meeting lots and lots of people. So my mission really for the first several weeks is just to meet with as many people as possible within the organization and in the community, and connect with boards and committees and groups like yourselves. So I will say you are my first board and committee meeting since starting that I've had the opportunity to join and participate in. So I'm glad to be sitting with you here. My background is I have about 31, actually close to 32 years of experience and service in local government, in particularly focused in leadership, and the majority of that is focused in this realm of community services. So I have worked for cities, a county, and a special district, a special Parks and Recreation district, the North Clackamas Parks and Rec District. You might have heard of that up in the Clackamas County, kind of northern Clackamas County area. Most recently, I was the city administrator for the city of Canby, a city of about 20,000 people, a little south of the Portland area, and was in that position for just under 3 years, and had every intention of continuing in that position until this opportunity was kind of presented to me or came to my attention. And quite frankly, this position was I don't think I could have written a more perfect job for my experiences and my background and my interests. So it kind of combines this idea of city leadership with the leadership of community services. So my background, really the majority of that 31 or so years of experience mostly is in parks, recreation, libraries, public art, neighborhoods, and a variety of other things, adult centers, programming, youth sports, adult sports. I could keep going, but there are essentially all of the functions of this new community services department that has been created through this reorganization are the areas of focus for me that are my strength and frankly my passion. So I have a great passion for public service and leadership within local government, and then particularly all of the community services elements of that. I very much enjoy the process of working with boards and committees like yourselves. I've worked with several parks and recreation boards, and I have a great appreciation for the time that you give to the city and to our community. It's very meaningful. It's impactful. And I think the work that a Parks and Rec board or a library board or whatever other board that you do is you really assist the city organization and the staff and our mayor and city council in being the eyes and ears and the voice of the community for all things parks and recreation. So I have a strong affinity for what you do as a board and as a group, and it's very impactful and it's meaningful. It's your volunteerism to do this is appreciated. So thank you for that. So what the idea here is with this position is to bring together these services, divisions, departments under this community services umbrella for the city that have kind of been individual operations, or they've been a part of a different department like Public Works or some other portion of the city where while I think that was all very well meaning, but I think at times those kinds of services can sort of get lost, or quite frankly, they can be disconnected from each other. So the parks, the recreation, the library, the adult center, all these different aspects, and then also the homeless services are under this community services umbrella as well, which really frankly connects to everything that we're doing in the city right now because it's such a significant issue. But the idea is that all of these services individually, while they have great benefits and values, I think by bringing those together and making connections, it creates a bigger team, and it creates synergy and I think opportunities that we've got. We've already got a great foundation of services, and it just brings those things together. And so my vision and my goal is to lift each of these services up even more by having a collection of different people and different facilities and all of the programming and the various things that we do, and taking those things to the next level. So we've got some significant opportunities in front of us. We've got the bond measure, obviously, that was well supported by the community. I'm very excited about that. I think we've got some opportunities to look at how the programming links together across these different operations and divisions and facilities. I think just working as a team, across these divisions will create some new ideas and some new energies. So I'm very excited about this. I'm very humbled to have been invited to come and be part of the Salem team. I couldn't be more excited about this opportunity, and it's right in my wheelhouse. And I hope that I will give a lot back through my passion for this service, and I will bring, I think, perhaps a new set of eyes on things that we can look for ways to do even more and hopefully better. So I'm really particularly interested in understanding, how you think your role as a board serves the city and supports and lifts up the parks and recreation services and connects to these other services. So I'm happy to have more conversation with you tonight or at future meetings. But I'd really like to hear from you as well as members on what you think we can do collectively and collaborate together as a citizens board, as staff, working with our elected officials to really take Parks and Recreation to another level, because I think we've got an incredible foundation of facilities and programs and things that are on the horizon. But I do think we can do more. I sense that our community wants more, and so let's figure out ways to work together and go forward to do that. So I would love to hear from you all how you think, what you think we need to do to start, looking at those types of things. So I'll pause there, and happy to answer more questions and have more conversation here. So that's kind of a quick sort of a snapshot, but really happy to be here.
Thank you, Scott. Really, really appreciate that. Very exciting to hear both your background and then also just some of your vision. I do want to recognize Woody Dukes just joined us, and thank you, Woody, for being here. Woody is our certified horticulturist on the board, or arborist rather, sorry, on the board, and just a long time expert on everything SPRAB. So Woody has been around, helped write the tree code, helped rewrite the tree code, has worked for the city in different capacities. So just in terms of people that are good for you to be in touch with, Woody is definitely a key person on the board on SPRAB and just in the community as you're getting up to speed. So
well, and if I'm not mistaken, Woody, I think we just met a couple of days ago at a tour of a beautiful home.
Yeah, we did. That was the Lawrence Graver Home Garden. We did.
there you go.
Nice to see you again.
Well, Scott, I'll just quickly say, you asked about how we see our role, and it's a well-timed question. It's something we've been thinking about a lot, and especially with COVID and there's been such an uptake in recreation opportunities, and trying to think about the role of SPRAB. We had a really productive in-person retreat in what was that? I think end of October of last year, and we had the mayor join us, and we had a really good opportunity to really think about how can we be more impactful with the work we do. And so there's a few different things just for you to put on your radar. One of those is that we want to be more active helping city staff think about things proactively instead of just waiting for master plans and other projects to come to us. And so historically, a lot of what would happen is some of the information would be presented, or master plans, we'd be liaisons to those, and that would be the most active role. And some of what we're trying to do is really be more proactive, like you said, to be the eyes and ears of the community. So our next agenda item, we're talking about neighborhood outreach. And what we've started is the wonderful city staff have created a sample or a stock slide deck for us, so to speak, that we are taking to neighborhood associations, and we're going to be talking about Parks and Rec. We've divided up the whole list, and we're going to talk about things like what is SPRAB, are there concerns about parks in your area? What's the status of some of the master plans? And then most importantly, what are some of the funding opportunities? You're probably starting to get aware of things like the Salem Park Improvement Fund, SPIF, which directly impacts neighborhood associations. And so trying to talk to neighborhood associations about those opportunities. And so we're thinking about the timeline and make sure they have that information. And then as concerns come from those meetings, we can bring it back to SPRAB and relay that to city staff. So just one thing for you to be aware of. And then also trying to do more work on some of the research that maybe, as we think about just limited staff capacity and time in a normal workday, that we can all be thinking about how can we bring lessons from other cities. We've had a few examples of that, things like a park usage and planning subcommittee a couple of years ago that several of us were on. And it gave us a chance to really do a national scan of different areas and different policies. Right now, a few of us are looking at micro-mobility devices, so things like e-bikes and scooters in parks and what those policies could look like. So we're kind of subdividing some tasks up, and the hope is to do some of that work ahead of the next comprehensive parks master plan process that'll come up following the TSP. And so I'm sure there's a lot of things that are being thrown at you, a little bit of a fire hose, but just to note that, I think we're also a little bit on that journey as well to say, how can we use this expertise of the community and the board that we have and make sure we're really providing value to staff and providing value to you in your leadership role. And beyond that, I would just note that, like I mentioned, Woody, there's a lot of really good experience here. Keith and I both have very young kids that are starting to grow up in the park system already. Al and Rick just finished last year a tour of all 91 park properties and went around and were able to see everything. And there's just lots of good experience here that we can hopefully relay to you, and definitely want this to be an open door where you can come back to SPRAB if there's questions, or, send things our way if you'd like us to look into it, because we really want to be active and make sure we're using the best use of everyone's time and providing that supporting mechanism.
That sounds great. Yeah, I appreciate that. And I look forward to, this is just a first meeting for me, certainly, and kind of an introductory opportunity, but I appreciate any information you want to send my way that would be helpful, backgrounding or anything else in that regard. And yes, I've been drinking information from the fire hose for 2.5 weeks, but that's frankly the only way to do it is just get deluged with information, and then start grabbing it, and hopefully most of it'll stick. A little bit of it'll fall through the cracks, and I'll keep asking lots of probably repeat questions until I get it, but that's all great, and I appreciate that. May I ask Dylan, as chair, may I ask your permission to ask the question of? I
Yes.
just realized that I don't think I really know who most of you are. You've done the kind of the quick introduction as far as the roll call, but would it be appropriate for me to ask that the members might just introduce themselves and sort of tell me how long you've been on the committee and, you know, any of your particular interests or anything like that? I don't mean to take hijack.
it's a great
but
idea.
It might be really helpful for me to hear that as well.
I think that's a great idea. Let's go through. So Keith, do you want to start? I see you just came off mute.
Yeah, I can. And thanks, Scott. Great to meet you, and excited to have you in your role. I agree with you on a lot of the reorganization of the city and producing this role. I think is gonna do good things for the city, and in particular our parks. So my name is Keith Norris. I have lived in Salem for a little over 5 years. I grew up in the Midwest. I have been on the Parks Board here for I think about 4 years. I think it was June or July 2019 that I got appointed. So right at 4 years probably. On that, as Dylan mentioned, I have a young son. What is he, about almost 10 months old right now? So young family, live in West Salem, and I come to the board from kind of a wildlife background. I work in wildlife conservation policy and work for a nonprofit organization in the wildlife world. So that's my educational background and kind of my interest in the natural areas of the parks.
Thank you.
Al, you want to go next?
I'll go ahead. Yeah. Al Holland, born and raised in Oregon, native Oregonian, a rarity around here. I am a retired school teacher, general science major, master's in education, 30 years teaching in McMinnville. I worked for the Forest Service for 3 summers fighting fire and marking timber, so I got some experience with trees, and I do a lot of gardening. Also a little bit of birding experience, so I'm interested in those kind of things. But my pet project is trying to get a bicycle path constructed along the Willamette River to Kaiser Rapids Park from Salem. That's a long-term project that's in the initial stages of my ideas and fantasies, but I sure hope it can happen someday. You'll hear more about it, I hope, eventually. Welcome.
Thank you, Al.
Dawn, would you like to go next?
Did you call me?
Yes, yeah, I see you're
Oh,
out.
sorry. I thought there were people before me. I'm Joan Lloyd. I'm a member of the Northeast Neighbors Neighborhood Association. And that's the reason I applied for the position here on SPRAB, is because there was, they wanted someone to represent Northeast neighborhoods. And I have lived here for 16 years, and I love trees. That's my big thing. I'm crazy about trees. And playgrounds, parks, although I mostly go to the ones near me. But when we had a dog, we went to Minto Brown and loved the dog park, and I think it's a great place. And that's it.
Thank you.
Alan, you want to go? I see you're off mute.
Yeah, sure. Alan Alexander, and I'm retired from a career in civil aviation. I got interested in parks in Salem, and I've been here about 20 years when my granddaughter was born, and spending time with her and visiting parks. And it just, in fact, I live near Sunny Slope Park. They put new playground equipment in there, and she thought it was her park because she's been involved with it since it was installed. So I appreciate the value of parks, particularly neighborhood parks, to the quality of life here in the area. I'm a strong supporter of parks, recreation, and sports as they lead to tourism. And I've served on several boards in the Midwest where we tried to multiply our parks resources by encouraging traffic and with tourism. And I also have served on several tourism boards. So I look forward to hearing some of your ideas about how we can fine tune our parks to serve our neighbors and our citizens, as well as turn them into drivers for tourism, which of course is a form of economic development.
Thanks, Alan.
Rick, I see you're next.
Yeah, my name is Rick Hartwig. I'm born in Montana, but Oregonian by choice, and in the plains of Montana. So coming anytime we see a tree, we get excited. So living here is a very exciting. I am a retired, or as I say, a recovering middle school teacher. And I was also involved with a lot of coaching with Park and Rec, but also within the school district. I am, since my retirement, I've been involved with all sorts of things for livability in Salem. And I can't think of anything more livability oriented than the park system. So I've been on the board for a couple of years, and hope to be on the board for a couple more years. And so I'm looking forward to, we have wonderful master plans. I'm looking forward to finding the funding so that they don't go on for 10 years and then we have to redo the master plans because they're so outdated. Yeah, so I'm hoping that we can somehow keep the funding in line with the master plans, so that we can move forward. One thing I found out about working with government is that nothing happens quickly. And if you want to plan something, plan for what it's going to be like in 10, 15 years, not what it is now. So welcome. I'm glad to see you and hope we can accomplish a lot of stuff.
Thanks.
Woody, I know you already met Scott, but if you want to give any quick remarks about yourself, I don't know how in-depth you all got.
I see the button to take me off of mute. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I think I started in 1973 on the Salem tree crew. I was on that crew for 25 years. I was a certified arborist for 9 years during that time through the International Society of Arboriculture. I retired medically in 1998, and then I started volunteering with the Friends of Busch Gardens at Busch Park, and then the Lord and Scriber Gardeners at Deepwood, and then the gardeners at Lord and Scriber Home Garden on Fridays. And then I got on the I became the Neighborhood Association. Yeah, I was on the Can-Do Neighborhood Association as the land use board chair. And so I did that for a year. But anyway, then I'm no longer on that board right now. But then I got on I was on the committee in 2015, that rewrote the city's tree code, chapter 86. And then that came about also because of well, I won't get into that, about the tree removals downtown. But so I got on the Parks Board. I've been on 2 terms, and I'm a year and a half into another term. Since I'm the professional arborist on the board. No one seems so far has come up and applied to take my place, so I agreed to stay on the board until we can find a replacement. So that's me. Thank you.
And we're glad Woody is stuck around because we need him here. And I realized I didn't go, so I'm Dylan McDowell. I've been on SPRAB, I think, for almost 5 years now, or I'm in my 5th year, actually, maybe even, yeah. And so I'm in my 2nd term. I work on environmental policy work at the state level is my day job. And so I work for an organization that works with state legislators across the country. So I'm always excited to look at other cities and other states and figure out how we can bring lessons here. So that's something that I'm really excited about. In my free time, I'm a pretty active user of the parks, whether it's for running or out there birding. And then, as I mentioned earlier, I actually have 1-year-old twins. And so they're more and more now taking the stroller out with the kids and my wife and our dogs. So very excited about that. I was born and raised on the Oregon coast. I was in DC for a few years, and it's been really nice to be back in Oregon now, and lived in Salem for several years now. So I'm very excited to be working with you.
Wonderful. Well, thank you for indulging me in that opportunity to learn more about you all, and that's very helpful. So, and I guess I heard a couple of things that I wanted to just, if you don't mind, if I just make a couple more quick
Please.
comments that I feel very encouraged about is, as far as my background and my belief in what we do in this realm of the city services that we provide, parks and recreation and libraries and adult centers and all of these services. I heard a couple of you allude to the quality of life issues and the things that these do for the community. And I know that obviously you're all interested in this and you believe in this, because you probably wouldn't be on this board if you didn't, but it's very heartening to hear it. And so I want you all to know how firmly I believe in these services, to the point that, so my background is I've been in this profession for quite a few years, and I've been fortunate to have these opportunities. But I've chosen that path because my formative years were involved in participating in sports and recreation and biking and hiking and going to activities, spending time in libraries. I've always believed in these things, but then as I grew into my adulthood and found my career path into this profession, it's easy for me to believe in these services, because that's been a part of my life. And then my wife and I, we have three children that are now into adulthood, but they were raised in recreation and sports and going to parks and using trails and facilities and recreation centers and swimming pools and all of those things. So this isn't just my profession; it's a lifestyle for me. And what I believe so firmly in is these services are they're of course they're important, but they're not just important. They're actually critical to the quality of life of a community and the health and wellness of a community. They're not just of course, going to a park is a respite, and it's an opportunity to enjoy nature within an urbanized area. But it's more than that. It really provides to the health and the wellness of the community. And it's these services, like for example at our adult center, some of those services are a lifeline to some of our most vulnerable population. And so I actually think that parks, recreation, libraries, and other community services are often, they get thought of as sort of an ancillary thing that the city does or that a community has. Is you have some parks and recreation and activities, and that's nice. But actually, what it is I view these as critical services for our city, for our community, for the residents, and the people that are part of the community. So it's not a whole community without these services, parks, recreation, libraries. And if those things aren't part of your community, you don't have a whole community. So I just wanted to emphasize where I'm coming from in terms of, it's my professional passion. It's a personal passion. It's a lifestyle. I'm an active person, and we'll be out and about in our parks and rec facilities. My wife is a is also an educator. So I know one of you mentioned education, and it happens to be that she's a physical education and health teacher. And so that's even part of our life. So it's important to me in so many different ways. And so I find it easy to be an advocate and want to look at ways to provide these things and do the best that we can for our community. So, yep. I didn't mention that part in the beginning, but I felt compelled to just kind of share that piece of my story too.
Well, thank you so much for doing that. It's been really wonderful to just hear more about that. And I appreciate, you taking time to get to know each of us and asking for that introduction, because we hope to see more of you. And we do, like I said, we hope you'll think of us as a resource and an opportunity. I think we're all really eager to keep working on the parks and making sure that the recreations and services and everything just continue to be top notch. We have so many great opportunities in Salem, and we want to just see that continue. Well, I guess I'll open it up before we let Scott go. If folks have any questions you'd like to ask now, and as he mentioned, hopefully this is the beginning and we can have more of these conversations in the future. But are there any pressing questions or anything folks would like to ask? All right. Well, Scott, thank you so much again. As you continue to get settled, please feel free to come back. And as we continue to work on things, we'll make sure to update you as well.
I appreciate that. If you don't mind, just for me to learn and hear more about what's going on, I'd love to. I'll probably just turn my camera off and kind of sit back and listen to the meeting and just continue to learn more about what's going on. So.
Please do. Yes. We have a lighter agenda tonight. But we welcome you to be here. And if you haven't already, the written reports that are in the actual packet, the staff does a really incredible job on that. So I would definitely encourage you to read through that. That's been just a really neat opportunity to get bullet list of all these different things that are happening across the Parks and Recreation departments.
Great. Yeah, that's great. Thank you again. I'll just kind of turn off my camera, but be listening, and if any questions come up, I'm happy to jump back in, but I'll probably just kind of lay back and learn. But also, I will look forward to attending future meetings. I probably won't be able to do every one of them, but I certainly will try to join you from time to time. And I wanted to, I guess I'll leave you as well with this, that if there are specific issues going on, or particular meetings that you think it would be more beneficial for me to attend, please do let me know. Dylan, I suppose you could reach out on behalf of the board and pass that along, but I'm happy to join as I can, and I'll probably just pop in from time to time to listen, but also please let me know if there are particular issues or meetings that you think I should try to join.
Perfect.
Thanks.
Very much appreciated. Thank you. All right, well, let's move on to our next item of business, is the Neighborhood Association engagement. Rob, I suspect, I know the main focus was kind of providing an update of where we're at, but were there any updates on materials or other things you wanted to start with? There we go. You just put it in the chat. Look at that.
Yeah, thank you, Chair Dylan. No updates on my end. That's just the template for your outreach presentation. It remains the same. However, I would appreciate if you individually could let me know when you have made arrangements with the various neighborhood associations, so I can make sure that your presentation is customized to meet the content you want to present to that association. Also, if it's helpful, I can pull up the assignment sheet that we developed the last few meetings.
Wonderful. Thank you. And Scott, if you're still listening, I will just say this link is worth clicking on, in the sense that after our retreat, we really talked about what are those core pieces of information we'd want the public to know via a neighborhood association or something, someone we were talking to, and what are those kind of fact sheet topping points we'd want as SPRAB to make sure we all know. And so I would say this is, like, in a nutshell, some of the most important things happening, and there's like a really good finger on the pulse of Salem Parks and Recreation as you're getting started. So while it's meant for neighborhood associations, probably a good resource for you to have as well. Well, for folks, I guess we'll open it up to, I don't know how the outreach has been going, if anyone has had a chance to do any outreach. I reached out to my 3 neighborhood associations this week, and so I haven't got anything scheduled yet, but as soon as I do, Rob, I will let you know. Has anyone been able to get something scheduled or make a presentation yet? I see. Oh, Alan, yes.
The Sunny Slope is scheduled for next month, and Can Do will either be August or September, as soon as they finalize their agenda. And that's the two that I got involved with. So I'm looking forward to getting the template, start working on it, or working through it.
Wonderful.
Rob, this is maybe my ignorance in using Canva, but can I download this individually, or in terms of getting it updated, that's something you want us to kind of contact you for and manage on your end? Is that the best way to do it?
Yes, I'd prefer to send you at least a pretty solid draft. I can just for reference, I'm very accommodating. Canva is very accommodating. I could provide a PDF, I could provide a link, I could provide a PowerPoint file, whatever works for you and the strategy you want to take with your presentation.
Perfect. Thanks. I'll quit looking for the download link then.
And just, for everyone, this is something new for us, which is really exciting. And I think we're probably going to get questions that we didn't anticipate. People are going to ask for some piece of information, and you'll probably say, that's a really good information, or that's a good question. I don't have that information. And so make sure as you get those questions, write those down. We can answer them retroactively, but then we can also add those to the presentation and make sure this presentation grows and continues to be as useful as possible for everyone. All right. Any other comments or thoughts that folks have on the neighborhood association outreach? It sounds like most of them are either in progress or just getting started, and so we can keep on with that. I do just want to note that when we think about the SPIF timeline, that preparing project budgets happens toward the end of the year, but letters of intent are due at the end of October. So as we talked about at the retreat and when we started this, we just want to make sure we try and get in front of folks before that. So that way they have a heads up about SPIF and can really be thinking in that mindset to make sure that the money does not go to waste, and also just gets as many applications as possible so we can put that to use improving our parks. All right. And Scott, I did not mean to say you had to stay on the video the whole time. Apologies there if you felt the call back in. I just wanted to make sure you had that resource on hand because it was in the chat. And Zoom can be notorious for the chat disappearing if you're not careful.
No problem. I'm good. Thanks.
All right. Any other comments on that before we move on to board member updates? All right, well, we'll move on then. My main update is that I have not had a chance to work with Debbie and Al on the bike information yet. Al, I know that we need to schedule some time, and I believe Debbie is camping right now. So after this, the three of us can do some emails this week, and hopefully before the next meeting, come back with that. And just as a refresher for folks, we had Debbie, Al, and I, the three of us had compiled some information and recommendations, and Rob worked with city staff to basically create a response to that, with saying, here are some of our thoughts or concerns or ideas based on what you shared. And so the three of us need to revisit those responses and figure out the best way to move forward and kind of bring that back to SPRAB and staff. Are there any other updates that folks would like to share? Yeah, Rick.
Yeah, about our staff recognition. And first of all, the Park Foundation does a wonderful job on that in the newsletter of recognizing staff with bios, and pictures. And I feel like, we would almost be duplicating what they're doing. Now, my question is, how often do they do that? Do they do that? And Joan, or I guess Carol, who's here, can maybe answer that question for us. And if, I do not want the staff to have to overwork to add any more on their plate. So the foundation is doing a great job of doing that. The problem, is it a possibility for us to make recommendations that the foundation would then pick up and have in their newsletter? And secondly, I don't even get the newsletter, so it doesn't get a lot of publicity. Is there any way that the staff recognition that the Parks Foundation does. You get more publicity, you get more press. You know, these are questions that Al and I both have had as we were looking at what they had done and what we can do. So first of all, how often does the Park Foundation do the recognition? Can we submit staff for that recognition? And how can we publicize that recognition further? And I'm kind of stumbling around here, but we have more questions than answers, I think. But I don't think we need to duplicate what they're doing. There's a lot of work that went into that. You know, with I mean, the bios on the people that were honored, there were what, 5, 6 of them. They were well done and well researched, and pictures, and we don't need to try to duplicate that, but it'd be great if that recognition could be publicized more. Alan, do you have any more to add to that?
I don't think so. I think our idea is simply to recognize good work from employees that are doing it, and to publicize that so that they can get some recognition, possibly beyond what they're already getting. And we really are grateful for the Parks Foundation's work so far. We just kind of want to boost it a little bit if we can.
That's, I think, a really wonderful idea, and I really like the idea of synergy between the two. I know, so I guess I would invite, maybe if you all could work with the Parks Foundation to get more information on that, but for the immediate question that's up in terms of how often that is done, I know Carol is here, and then Alan, I know you're part of Salem Parks Foundation as well. Do you have information on that you can share with us?
I would certainly defer to our chair, who Carol is here. Basically, it's based upon recommendations from different members of the Parks Foundation who are in different parks and see staff working and work more closely in some of the things. And so we got several members who generate these and then help do the research to prepare them and present them. As to further publicizing it, that's a good idea. But I do think I can arrange for Rick to get a copy of the newsletter. Carol, anything you'd like to
add? Yes, we certainly will get. I was making a list of probably some people, other people on this board who don't get our newsletter yet, and we need to correct that. But our newsletter comes out quarterly, and we don't always feature a park hero, but almost always, and we just take recommendations from anybody, and we would love to have recommendations from anyone here, and you can just send that to our our info at Salem Parks Foundation email that you get through our website, or you could just call me. No, but we would love to have more recommendations for those park heroes. As far as more publicity, we probably ought to get a more like on our Facebook page or whatever, but because our newsletter goes out to thousands of people, but it is a limited group. So I'd welcome ideas for how to get that publicized.
So great idea. And Rick, I really appreciate you and Al thinking of this. It seems like a great opportunity for us to be finding a better way to be sharing staff that we encounter with Carol, with the Park Foundation, so that can be part of the nomination process for them. But Al, I saw your hand went up. I don't want to cut you off.
I just wanted to know the question answered. Is the newsletter published on Facebook, or our segments or our recognition of the people that are acknowledged there on Facebook?
When we put out our newsletter, we do send a copy to our Facebook page as well, but we haven't separated out, the park heroes, and we probably should separately for that too. And our park heroes are not just staff. We also have, you know, volunteers that we acknowledge who work in the parks.
That's good. I have encountered a number of volunteers as well as staff in the parks, and particularly the people who ride through Minto Brown. There's a lot of area that is covered there, and that brings up a question I have: that how do we track what trails are being covered when by those volunteers? Is there any way that that is being done so that the staff can know that there's not a trail that has been ignored or has some incident on it that nobody was able to see? Is there an organized effort to track that? And if not, I think that's something we can work on too. What do you know, Carol?
Well, in Minto Brown, you know, you're talking about the park patrol, I think. And I think Betsy Belshaw is still in charge of that patrol, but and she probably knows who goes where, but I would think Amanda Sitter would also be involved in that because it is a volunteer.
Yeah, I've spoken with some of those, and as far as I can tell, we don't have a system for tracking where they've been. And I'm just trying to fantasize about an app that every volunteer could have on their phone that tracks where they go and reports it to a central place so that we know where they've covered and what hasn't been covered.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I'll be seeing Betsy soon, and I'll ask her about that too. But
it's a big part.
It is a big
many
part.
miles of trails, and I just thought maybe organizing where they're going might help.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you.
Wonderful. Well, thank you, Carol, for being willing to willing to be put on the spot like that and to share some great information with us. So it sounds like there's some good opportunities there to really feed into what you're already doing, and then we can make sure everyone here is getting the newsletter as well.
Yes. Okay.
Thank you. Are there any other board member updates? All right. Well, let's move into our information reports. We have parks planning and natural resource updates. So are there any questions? And then Rob, do you have anything you'd like to add to the written report that you shared?
Well, if there are no questions, the only thing I'd like to add is I'd like to just give Raymond an opportunity to introduce himself. I want you all to get to know him a little bit, because I do expect the two of us to be engaging you as a board far more often as we begin to dive into some new park planning efforts.
Rob, I think did you want me to ask questions first? You want Raymond to jump in on introduction?
Yeah, if there are questions, I'd be happy to do those first.
Yeah. I think my only questions were on the Forest Service grant, grade grant going in. Do we know when that one's going to be decided, or when we expect to hear back on that one?
No, we do not. But I guess how I'd summarize the situation is that grant program was kind of being put together still as they were soliciting. So, as we were entering our application into the online system day to day, the application would change, and the timeline for the program hasn't been fully published. So I do anticipate, maybe around September, October, with the federal fiscal budget year cycle, skips over. Maybe we'll have some news then. But no, we don't know. We're just hoping we receive some money out of that program. Okay, excellent. And my other question, I noticed that the natural resource planners are kind of staying, it seems like, in public works, and Jennifer Monglo, that just reminded me, one of the things that I know she had been working on was a beaver management plan. And is that something that's still in the works? And are we seeing any ongoing beaver damage management? I know several months ago we had a lot of attention on that with some trees around riverfront. I wasn't sure if that was still a continuing challenge, and if that management plan was moving forward. Yeah, what I'll say about the beaver strategy is what we call it, is still in a draft form. However, staff is using it. I'll say that. So it's still being vetted by the city's legal department, but it is being used today. Because to answer the other part of your question, Keith, beaver is still an issue in town, and I don't want to say issue is the right word. I think it's wonderful that they're doing so well, but in certain situations, we may have to intervene as a city to protect property and life. So yeah, hopefully that answers your question.
Yeah, absolutely. It's all still moving forward and still something in the works. So that's good. And I think you're right. Once beaver are there causing damages, they're gonna continue doing that. So good deal. Thanks.
So if there,
Do we have a question on parks operations yet?
We're not quite there yet.
I didn't think so. Okay, I'll wait.
so Chair, if it's okay with you, Dylan, I'd like to give Ray just a moment to introduce himself.
Yes, please.
Yeah.
Hey, everybody. My name is Ray Joseph. I serve as your parks planner. I'll tell you a little bit about my background. I served in the building trades, or I worked in the building trades for almost 20 years. I'm sorry, 12 years. I started as a laborer and then I worked my way up to be an iron worker. I was an iron worker for almost until I was in my 30s, and I returned to school to get a degree in urban planning. I served as a regional planner for many years, and then I served as a principal parks planner for about just as many. I'm really excited to be a part of this team, and I look forward to working with everybody in the future.
Wonderful. And you go by Ray or Raymond? Which is your
Ray.
Ray. Okay.
Ray is fine. Yeah.
And then how long have you been in the Salem area?
I've been in Oregon for about 20 years now. I'm originally from Northwest Indiana, right outside of Chicago. I was born in Gary, Indiana.
Oh, okay.
Mhm.
Wonderful.
Yes, I'm happy to be here.
Well, we're pleased to have you join and look forward to seeing you at many more SPRAD meetings in the future.
Thank you.
And Rob, I saw also, I believe Emily Embleton is going to be supporting the department this summer as well, correct? And one thing not listed on here, but an intern role or some other capacity?
Yes, yes. So one of the Willamette University students that came in and testified, that might have been your last meeting, has reached out to us, and it does look like we're going to be able to offer Emily a volunteer internship opportunity this summer, working alongside Ray and I. So we are excited for that.
That's wonderful to hear, and I'm really excited about that. For everyone that I think most people were here, but that was the presentation on pocket parks that the 3 Willamette students provided, and so it was exciting. Emily had reached out to both Rob and I, and obviously Rob is the one that has all the opportunities there, but just really exciting to see the Willamette University students getting really involved in local issues here. And I think that'll provide a lot of benefits for Salem and for the park system. So I appreciate you all making that opportunity for a new student that maybe someday will be one of the park planners on staff. All right. Any other questions for Rob before we move on to parks operations, which I know Al has a burning question. All right, Al, over to you.
No, I think we've got it taken care of. But I will ask, in crossing the Peter Courtney Bridge, it's noticeable as the water drops how much accumulates in the riverbed. And I've thought about trying to crawl down there and haul stuff over and whatnot. And whenever I go out in my kayak, I bring back a garbage bag full of stuff from around the edges, but I can't get into the dry space under there. I would like to know if there's any way that we could possibly encourage some volunteers or something. There already are some people who are dragging stuff out. There's 3 shopping carts on the bank that have been pulled out, but there's bike wheels and frames and cans and lots of stuff down there. I'm just wondering, do we as a city do anything with that, or do we have a plan? I'm just wondering if I could do anything to see some of that stuff disappear, get recycled.
Hey, Al, it's Mylan.
Yeah.
Next Thursday, Willamette River Keepers at a big event all day.
What, all day?
All day. They'll be in the slough with kayaks, and we'll have the boat, the city boat there, and going back and forth to unload at Wallace. So it's an all-day event. I can CC you on the invite, or you can reach out to Amanda Sitter. And it's,
thank you.
Yeah.
Appreciate anything you're doing with that. Thank you.
And
I'll take part.
Maybe 3 months ago we did it with city staff and CS workers when the water level finally went down the first time.
Yeah.
But we're getting back in there again now since the water's back down. So yeah, we've noticed it too. So
Okay, thank you very much.
Wonderful. Well, while we have Mylan here, are there any other questions on parks operations or on the urban forestry update we received? Well, it's always so comprehensive, Mylan. I really appreciate it. And it was fun to see the photos from the team building trip as well. And I'm glad that they're, you say names a lot, and it's fun to have to have faces with the names, even though we're all on Zoom and stuff nowadays. So I appreciated that as well.
Of course, yeah. And on top of what you guys were talking about, some of the Willamette students helping Rob. Thanks to Rob, we're also going to have some interns through stormwater money this summer. One from Willamette and one from a student from Florida doing park inventory. I don't know if I put that in my report or not, but so we will be focusing a lot on inventory this year, tree inventory in our city parks. So looking forward to that. And since Jennifer's not here, I will update you guys. We are doing interviews currently for parks seasonal employees. We're doing interviews for the project coordinator position for parks, and we're doing the third supervisor interviews upcoming. So pretty soon, hopefully we'll be fully staffed, and looking forward to that.
Wonderful. Thank you. Appreciate that wonderful update.
Yeah.
All right. And then we have our rec services update. Lots of great things. I need to get out to one of the Stride events. I have not done one yet, so I'm excited to do that. I'm going to take, hopefully you'll see me out there at one of those with a stroller in the near future, as we're getting that up and running now that the kids are at that age.
Fantastic. Come on out.
What about any other updates that we should know about? Any big events outside of what you've shared with us so far?
Well, between now and the next time we meet, the July 4th event.
Oh.
Just a reminder that is been moved from Riverfront Park out to Oregon State Fairgrounds. There'll be a show of fireworks between about 10 o'clock or shortly thereafter for about 20 minutes. It'll happen on the southeast kind of area of the fairgrounds complex, kind of right just south of the pavilion, if you're familiar with their layout. So anyway, that's we're fine-tuning details with the Oregon State Fair and Exposition Center staff, and so that's the fairly big thing happening right now. But it's free for people to come out and look at the fireworks. There's VIP parking for $20. Other parking is $10. And it's free to get in. Alabama, if you like that country music, I guess they're probably primarily considered country. So Alabama will be performing, and that starts, gates open at 3. I think that concert's at 8 o'clock, I think is the start. So anyway, first year for it to be out there, but we're really excited and think it's going to be just an amazing event that we can be very proud of.
That's wonderful. Is the plan that this will be permanent to have it at this fairgrounds, or is this kind of a trial year and see how that goes?
I think we're looking for it to be permanent if it goes well, which all signs point to the fact that it has been. It's been a great partnership with the Oregon State Fair and Exposition Center. So it'll likely, hopefully, it will go smooth, and it's a much bigger facility. Right. And we don't have to worry about eagles and eaglets and fireworks. That's bad mix. So we really need a different location to do it in. And so hopefully it'll become a little closer to permanent.
Wonderful. Well, excited to see how that goes this year. All right. Any other questions or thoughts for Becky? Well, I'm hearing none. when we have our parks damage report in the packet, so we can move on to new business, if that's all right with everyone. I had one thing I just wanted to bring up in terms of new business is we had talked, as I alluded to with Scott, we had talked about the idea of doing some prep work for the comprehensive system plan that's going to be coming up here. Rob, I wanted to ask you, I know the transportation system plan has been delayed a little more than the initial. I mean, I know when it was initially talked about, it seemed like it might be a year or so. And do you have any sense of, I haven't looked at the website recently, basically trying to think about, is that something we want to get started on sooner rather than later, just like we're doing with the micromobility research, and maybe have some of our SPRAB members be doing some research projects in the meantime?
Yeah, I think there is going to be an opportunity to get started pretty soon on some prep work. I'll just, to be completely transparent, Ray and Scott have both joined the team very recently, and so on kind of both ends, we're trying to get us internally staffed more or less on the same page, get a game plan together, and then I think at that point, once we're a little bit more organized, I think there will be lots of opportunity for the board to help us, because this is going to be a tremendous lift. I'm going to try to find real quick on the city's website. There is a brochure that was recently posted to the city's website that kind of frames the park system plan update in the context of the overall implementation of our Salem process, and really just highlights how the update is really focused on equity. That's kind of going to be the theme, is how equitable is our park system today, and how are we going to move it to maybe a more perfect condition in the future. So with that, you might want to start thinking about ways that we can accomplish that, looking at other examples from other cities across the nation. So that's something you probably start working on sooner than later. Dylan, you might remember from the Climate Action Plan Task Force, one of the early assignments, if you will, for the task force members was to review the climate action plans from some other cities. Something like that could be really helpful, with the board providing us some thoughts about what they liked about those other examples.
That's great. All right, wonderful. Well, we'll put that on hold for now as everything is moving around a little bit, but keep that in mind. And I think for all of us, it's good for us to be thinking about the equity implementation and also examples from other cities. So wonderful. Thank you, Rob. Appreciate that. Any other new business people would like to raise?
It's not new business, but after Rob's comments, I feel I need to mention something. Equity is an important issue. I'm so glad to hear that is a tenet of consideration in our master planning and improvements and everything we do in the future. We are killing people in Salem with inequity of access to swimming. We are killing people every year, literally, drowning in the Willamette River because it gets hot and they don't have a place to go to cool off in their own neighborhood or in a public pool. That is the single biggest great glaring inequity in our parks and recreation system that I could think of. And it's embarrassing to me to live in a city that doesn't have the ability to provide for that kind of recreational outlet. I know the Kroc Center is wonderful. It's great. It's a private facility and it's in Kaiser. And it's good. And the Y is a nice place as well. But it's not the same as a public facility. And I feel like we are lacking. I think that we'll probably need to have a tax district in order to have a real recreational system that is complete and full as other comparable cities have. I really think that's a glaring inequitable point in our system here. Okay.
Well, thank you, Alan. I think that as we think about park system updates and as we're taking lessons from other cities, that's the kind of thing we can be talking about as well, and thinking about how other cities finance that and brought it all in. So appreciate you raising that. And as you mentioned, I know others have brought this up in the past, so it's a good thing for us to keep on our radar. All right. Any further new business before we move to adjournment? Hearing none, well, the meeting is adjourned and our next meeting will be July 13th, 2023. I hope you all have a wonderful June and a great 4th of July, and we will see you all shortly after